We're going back to the 2022 NFL draft, but we're taking a look a year back when I did my way too early to see, well, how right, how wrong that I was in just a year in review. And I'm just like going back to old videos on my channel, like checking out Defensive Player of the Year. By the way, got it. Micah Parsons. Looked at my offensive. Jamar Chase was my number 2 to Trevor Lawrence. I'm sorry. It's normally quarterbacks win those awards, but I thought that I always like going back and looking at it. I like looking at my old rankings and stuff, what I got right, what I got wrong. But we're going to be taking a look at my first 2022 NFL mock. What's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo. Just in case you did not know, so go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. As always, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Quick update, we're going to start redrafts, I think, next week. So taking a look back at older classes and how they did, and then we're going to do a redraft for them. I just started looking at the guys that I'm going to watch for 2023. Got a huge list. I got like 36 quarterbacks down because this quarterback class looks a bit better. But I'm going through all those guys. So rankings maybe will be out like probably July for those. July, sometime before the college football season. I'll just say that. And yeah, the Patreon discontinued it. I want to do it maybe something different when it comes to like a draft guide. I don't know what that is right now, but yeah, those that were patrons, thank you for supporting me, and we're gonna be doing something different in the future, even if it is going back to Patreon. Just put it up like a draft guide, but I want to add extra content for some of y'all. I'm just gonna use the summer to figure out what that may be, but let's go ahead, get into the nitty-gritty. I gotta make this smaller real quick and take a look at what I had going on. Spencer Rattler going number 1. By the way, if you're mad about the draft order, it's Vegas betting odds. I don't know why people get all mad in these early mocks about draft order. Oh, there's no way. It's like, dude, it's Vegas betting odds. Ham it up with Vegas. I don't care. Already throwing some shots, but Spencer Rattler, man. For a lot of people, he was the consensus number 1 quarterback going into last year. We kind of know how that all fell apart in real time. We did a watch along for the Texas-Oklahoma game, and we saw it unfold. By the way, that was probably one of my favorite watch alongs. It was such a great game. So maybe South Carolina, maybe with oh my gosh, with Mr. Beamer, Coach Beamer there. His maturity comes along and the dude just can work inside a structure. I don't know. I can tell you he's probably not going to be a first round projection when my rankings come out, but the guy, he has a lot to do, but he can rehab that status he once had as number 1. And look at this, Sam Howell. My quarterback 2 at the end of the draft process was my quarterback 2 back then. It's nice to see. Obviously, he didn't go to the 5th round, but that's another story, man. The dude was a top 10 prospect going into the season, and he was, I don't want to say let down by his team, but outside of like Josh Downs, he had really no playmakers, and the offensive line wasn't ideal. Like, he had to constantly shoulder, putting the team on his back. So yeah, it was a bit of a surprise. I bet no one coming into this draft thought Kenny Pickett would be the only quarterback going in the first round. So yeah, I think we might see a couple other quarterbacks on this list, and I'll make comments when that happened. By the way, I haven't rewatched this video, so I have no idea who like the next picks are. Derek Stingley, obviously the Bengals. They were picking at 31, not 3. Again, Vegas betting odds, don't get mad. But Derek Stingley ended up actually going number 3, by the way. But yeah, I mean, the dude is a top 10, top 5 prospect, just with two very questionable seasons. You just can't deny the talent that he has. So it's like, it did surprise me that he ended up being the first corner off the board at 3. It did surprise me a little, but not much. He kind of came into draft day as him, Ahmad, Sauce, and Icky were kind of the favorites for that spot at number 3. And then Kayvon Thibodeau, he ends up going to New York, by the way, just the Giants, not the Jets. Wow, the Jets actually ended up with the 4th pick. That's wild. Look at that, Vegas. And so did the Lions with number 2. Vegas, man, the more you know. The more you know. But, yeah, KT ended up being number 5. A lot of people wanted to question his work ethic, that he gets lazy on the field. The only time I really saw him, like, because the dude's been an Iron Man for his career. Like, he's almost on the field for every snap. The only time I really saw him, like, kind of, like, I guess go cold was on double teams. If he's taken out of the play, then, yeah, he kind of gets cold there. And a lot of people didn't like, they think he's too me egotistical. He's a brand guy, man. He's a man trying to build a brand around his name. I'm not gonna fault him for that. I don't think he's less of a team guy because of that. Dude's a phenomenal first round prospect. He had probably the best combination of bend and like get off in this class. So yeah, no, KT ends up going top 5. So, hey, I hit 2 out of 5. Let's see what happens with number 5. Oh, you know, it's a bad list when you got Keanon Slovis in here. DeMarvin Leal. Wow, man, he had quite the tumble. Oh, yeah. He had a rough second half of the season, and then obviously he had the marijuana charge. He had 2 ounces of marijuana. Really some middle school stuff, man. It's like you gotta act more mature than that, my friend. Then he goes to the 3rd. I think he ended up going 86th on my board, but I really loved this cat as a prospect. Yeah, I love that corgi shirt that I'm rocking in the video. There we go. What else we got going on here? I want to lighten myself up, dude. I feel so dark. Keanon Slovis. Listen, USC was kind of a mess last year with what was the cat's name? Clay Helton? I can't remember what the coach's name was, but it was kind of a mess. But Slovis' decision making didn't get any better. Now he goes to Pittsburgh, where he's actually losing his what would have been his top threat in Jordan Addison. So that's great. But he is surrounded by a bit more of stability. Pittsburgh had a lot of returners, especially on defense, the offensive line too. So maybe he does better. I don't see him being a first rounder. He does got a limited arm strength. Kind of like what he does best is, you like his precision, his accuracy, but the decision making has to get better. If you're gonna be coming in trying to be a first round pick with a less than ideal arm, then your decision making's got to be good. It just has to be. Malik Willis, though, he ends up falling to the 3rd round, but for a lot of people, he was quarterback 1. So yeah, that was wild. Goes to Tennessee, goes to a good situation where he's gonna learn from. Well, I guess he's not gonna learn from Ryan Tannehill. Doesn't sound like Tannehill wants to teach. It's a joke. It's a joke. If you want to hear my thoughts on that, I talked with Titan Upload on his channel of exactly what I thought about that whole Ryan Tannehill conference. And I think people made a whole big something out of nothing. But, hey, yeah, no, Malik Willis, I thought he was QB1. I see the upside. I get it. It looked like the NFL wasn't in on a lot of these project quarterbacks and decided to draft him as such. So, interesting. Tyler Linderbaum, he ends up going to the 1st round. Thank goodness. He ended up being 18 on my big board at the end of the year. And I get it. Positional value, I think, probably tanked his stock. Along with, I guess, him just getting over 300. Less than ideal length. But dude's amazing. Going to Baltimore, too. That's going to be so fun. But yeah, none of these guys, like outside, like everyone that went in the top 8, I got 2. And to be fair, 2 of them went back to school. So yeah, we're doing hot right now. We're doing great. All right, let's continue down this rabbit hole. All right, going to. Oh, did my internet just go out? And we're back. The internet just went back up. Yay. If y'all were here for me early in the draft process, I really loved Mike Jones. He returned. He's probably not going to be a quarterback. Probably not going to be like a first round linebacker for me because he's got a lot to prove and he'll get to prove it this year at LSU. But I'm excited. I'm excited about Mike Jones, man. He was a former Clemson transfer. He was a kind of a projection because he was moving to more of a traditional linebacker role there at LSU, and then he just didn't see the field a lot. It really buttered my biscuits. But just gonna Gojo, I'm just gonna cover you up there, bud. Gojo's like sitting in my windowsill again. Desmond Ridder didn't go to Washington. Actually, that was Sam Howell, but he also went into the third round. Any of the quarterbacks here, we're just gonna see them like fall. Like any quarterback mocked here. Look, I got Matt Corral at 12. Like this isn't a good look already. Going back, like that just speaks to how unpredictable this last like class was. It really was. Like, I mean, I got Zach Harrison here. He ended up returning to school because he kind of like he was like hit or miss. He like some games. He was like J.R. Smith. I love using that analogy. J.R. Smith is like the perfect. If you're looking for a guy that runs hot and cold, J.R. Smith is the perfect representation of that whole idea. There's no player in recent memory that runs as hot and cold as J.R. Smith. But Giants end up not going quarterback. I mean, Matt Corral, Desmond Ridder, I mean, outside of Slovis, I mean, I had the quarterbacks right, who are going to be the top guys. Top linebacker ended up being Devin Lloyd. I don't think he'll probably make it in these rankings. I don't think Nakobe Dean will. Then again, he fell. Quay Walker definitely won't be. He wasn't a guy that wasn't on my radar till the season was well underway. So yeah, linebacker rankings probably won't be pretty here. Curious to see what other edge prospects I have on this list. Let's actually just go ahead and jump to the next set. Ahmad Gardner, there's Sauce. I had him at 13. He ends up going at 4. Not half bad. Kyle Hamilton. Wow, that's actually not bad. I had him at 15. He ends up going at 14. So nice. Garrett Wilson ends up being my top wide receiver. Ended up not being the first wide receiver off the board, but he was my top wide receiver. Glad to see that he stayed that way, you know, for the most part through the draft process. Zion Nelson, man. Again, we're probably going to see Cross later in this list, but for Zion Nelson, Charles Cross, I was like, these two are like exceptionally athletic tackles that just need to take the next step. And I really thought it would have been Zion Nelson, and it ended up not. Now he's going back to school. We'll see how he does, but yeah, no, So what? Is Sauce Derek Stanley. So, okay, Derek Stanley and Sauce were my top 2 corners. Okay, that's not half bad. You know, we got some wins here. Like, I feel a lot better looking at this than looking at over here, you know? Like, Sauce, good. Kyle Hamilton went at 14, so I was just one spot off. Garrett Wilson goes 6 picks earlier, but he's my wide receiver 1. Ends up being wide receiver 2 in the draft, but yeah, no, this ain't half bad, man. I like looking back at this stuff, man. It's always fun. It's very interesting. So, yeah, man, the quarterbacks were an absolute wash on this list, just straight up. All right, let's take a look at how we do with the next set. Trent McDuffie! Yo, he was my quarterback 3! Let's go! There's Evan Neal. I listed him as offensive interior just because the dude was such a gargantuan. He ends up ending the year as my offensive tackle 1 too. So I wasn't too sure where he was gonna list. Justin Ross, man, I can't believe I even had him in my first round. I wasn't that high on him once my rankings came through. So to be fair, this is literally right after the 2021 draft. So like, again, a summer of review, you kind of look at this, like look at things and be like, oh yeah, maybe I don't like this player nearly as much. But I had Chris Olave up there. He ends up going, what, at 11? Yeah. But Trent McDuffie, dude. Wow, they had the Chargers at pick 17. Wow. That's pretty solid. That's a good get. And Eagles did have 19 at one point. But, yeah. I had Chris Olave going to the Patriots. So, yeah, top 3 corners were on point. Chris Olave. Evan Neal, I may list him as offensive interior. I mean, before the season starts, he ends up being offensive tackle 1 for me. That ain't half bad. Then Justin Ross. I mean, the Saints do go wide receiver. Justin Ross, though. Ugh. Man, looking back now, I'm not too much of a fan of that. Oh, let's see what this other side. Hey, Kyer Elam, my boy. My boy. So that's cool. I got the wow. Just looking at the next 3 is just wow. But yeah, no, I got my top 4 corners back. To be fair, those are one of my, like, cornerback is typically one of my most confident evaluations. So I don't feel too bad about that. ZTF, I'm a huge fan of. I don't think he'll be a first rounder. He just doesn't have the juice. I don't think he's like the Kingsley and Agbar-Ree, you know, of this next edge class. But yeah, I don't know. This next edge class is very interesting. It's very good. Jalen Wademeyer. I was like, I guess if I have to list a tight end in the first, I guess it'd be him. A lot of people were really high on him after the 2021 draft. He just had a really bad year and then a really bad pro day. Like, okay, the year wasn't so bad, but he just wasn't that physical as a blocker. You expected him to be a lot better as a blocker, and or at least to take the next step did happen. Drops showed up out of nowhere after having, like, I think like 2 drops go, like, in the prior 2 seasons. He had 8 drops this year, and then he tests out with the over 5-second 40. Like, that'll take your stock. He went UDFA, and it did surprise me none. Merlin Robertson actually ends up going back to school, but man, he really feels like a day 3 guy at this point. Maybe he rehabs that stock a little bit, but I don't see that. Man, yeah, I was off on the linebackers pretty bad. At least initially. Obviously, you know, my linebacker rankings probably cleaned that up. I might go look at that after this. Let's keep this sucker rolling. Perion Winfrey, he actually ends up falling quite a bit. He ends up falling to the 4th round. So, I mean, I liked Perion Winfrey. The dude, like, I know prior to this season, he had a lot of pressures, and I think he had 1, maybe no sacks back in 2020. What's with me doing this right now? What's going on there? Hold on. Why did I do that? I was just saying however, and I did this? What's up with that? Yo, what's up with that, dude? Come on now. All right. But Perion Winfrey, he probably, a lot of people had him as like a top 100 prospect. So him falling was actually a big shock. That's why I made my sleepers list. Drake Jackson, I love Drake Jackson going into this process because the dude's high-end reps were just that. They matched really anybody in this class. And just, he got beat up this year. You just needed to see more consistency from him. And again, he got beat up this year, so he didn't really get a chance to show that he could have that consistency, though it was a bit better this season. So Brandon Joseph, I was really high on. He returned, and now he's playing at Notre Dame. So that's gonna be interesting. That's gonna be fun. To be fair, the Ravens did go safety, so I got you. That's funny. Perion Winfrey ends up just a pick right here. Treylon Burks. So he was my wide receiver, I guess 4 here. So he ends up being wide receiver 6 in the draft. And I think end of the year is wide receiver 5 for me. So he ends up going a lot earlier than this, but man, he was a very divisive cat. You either really liked him or you really didn't. Very interesting. Had him going to my Dolphins. I would have loved that fit, by the way. Let's see how I finish this sucker out. Martin Emerson, dude. I was a straight up Martin Emerson mark. I really was. I stinking really liked Martin Emerson, man. He ends up going, what? Round 3 to the Browns? Hey, buddy, I'm not talking about the Chiefs yet. I don't know why you're popping out. But I was right about Breece Hall being running back 1. He just goes early in the 2nd. But Martin Emerson, though, man, dude's good. Dude's lengthy, has a lot of zone experience. Expect him to play a lot more press in the NFL. Hey, Kenny Green ends up being our first rounder. He ends up around this range for me at the end of the year, too. So, yeah, and I list him here as an offensive interior. Man, I went through that phase where I was like, nah, this guy can be a tackle. And the combine just killed my dreams. But Breece Hall ends up going to the Jets. I don't really get any of these matchups right. But I got Charles Cross right here. Obviously, Ikemikwana ends up surfacing. I imagine if I did I wonder if I did a preseason mock draft. We're gonna go on a journey. Let's go on a journey. I got time. You got time? I got time. Let's go ahead. Let's take a look at what my before season mock draft was. Oh my gosh, dude. Look at all this content I pushed out for you guys this past draft season. Why would y'all stay subscribed? All right, let's see. Come on, we're scrolling. We're almost there. Okay, so yeah, you can see I had like a top 300 big board going into the year. Let's see. I'm pretty sure I had a mock week before the season 2022 mock. Look at that. Let's check it out. Let's go here. Did I really do this on PFF? Really? Huh. Interesting. Let's just do this. Or not. Or not. Oh my gosh. This is such a worse way to do it. All right, so Spencer Rattler, Sam Howell. I didn't move off those. Derek Stingley. There's DeMarvin Leal. I just want to see what I did different in here. Evan Neal, KT. So that's when I got big on the Evan Neal train right before the season. Malik Willis, Tyler Linderbaum. There's Kyle Hamilton, Brandon Joseph. I was a Brandon Joseph mark. Still kind of am. There's Andrew Booth. So he got put on my radar. Then there's Carson Strong. Golly. I mean, now knowing the knee issues, it kind of makes sense why he fell. Garrett Wilson, Kyrie Elam, Kenyon Green. Let's see. Jackson Kirkland. I really liked Kirkland. He ended up, I think something came up at the Shrine where it was an injury or something, and he decided to return to Washington, but he's going to be an older prospect. He's probably going to be a day 2 for me early on in this next draft class. All right. Kingsley and Agbari. Y'all know I loved him. Oh, we're not talking about him. Oh, here, I think I need to go back a little. Drake London. There's Drake London. Did I skip 20? Okay, no, it was thou who should not be named. All right, Drake London, Ahmad Gardner. Still like those guys. Myjah Sanders. I liked him. He ended up still being kind of a project in my opinion. So that's why he kind of fell down my board. I want to see any new names. There's Christian Harris. He ended up going to the third or fourth. I I can't remember. I think it was the 4th. Nick Benito. I liked Nick Benito a lot, man. I thought he was such a specific scheme fit. This is where, okay, so Akem, and I think I saw Akem early on more as a guard. Jordan Battle, another guy that returned. I don't know why he would do that, but he did. All right. There's Mike Jones. I liked Mike Jones. Zach Harrison. Who was the final pick? George Pickens. Ends up not going to the first. Though recently, like going into the draft, there was a lot of talks about maybe the Packers taking him. So, yeah, very interesting. I'm intrigued. Let me know what you think. How close were some of your predictions on your way too early mock draft? Because they're just going to end up being wrong. So as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.